it to move, especially from right side to the left side?
It's very difficult. You're especially when you have years of experience at one side. But I think you got to get the reps to kind of make that work. It's like how, if you write with your right hand and then go into your left hand, obviously it's different. I wouldn't make the claim that it's that difficult, but there are difficulties there, and it's more so just kind of how comfortable you are, flipping things in your mind. It's just an opposite flip. So you have the movement patterns, but the mental. If you can flip it in your mind, that's one thing, but the movement patterns, that's takes some time.
What did you guys see from last weekend that led you to moving Mike to left guard?
We just put Mike in there this week for just some reps. We're trying to get guys, make sure that, because he's kind of, like I said, he's our best player. He's a good football player, and for him, we're asking a lot of him to do that. Yeah. But really, we just have to prepare with contingencies every week because obviously we've had a lot of different lineups, so you got to always kind of look ahead and see where guys need to go if you had someone go down.
Was there any thoughts of putting Layden at left guard and maybe just keeping Mike at the spot where he says he's most comfortable?
It's always a thought to move guys around again, to have some ability with contingencies, because you go into a game, you say, well, I'm going to, this is our lineup, but things change throughout the course of a game, so you want to have guys have reps. But for Layden, he's a rookie, and we try to do, it's a tough job as a rookie to come in and play. So we try to do as much as we can to try to let him really focus on an area. But he certainly has taken left guard reps as well.
We talked about the different lineups. Gerard said it's been kind of frustrating with so many different combinations. Have you also had some frustration about that?
Well, I don't spend time getting frustrated. We spend time looking for solutions. I think the issue is I think that it would be optimal to say that we've had continuity, because you do get better week by week, and guys get used to playing in the same position or together, and there's all that, and that's a goal for sure. The benefit of having a lot of moving parts is guys get experience and exposure, and on some level you're building, some versatility, which is important to have, as you guys know, because of the nature of the NFL with all the injuries that go on. So on some level you're building something there, but on another level you'd like to really say, hey, let's dig in and try to see some continuity over the weeks, because that's where you see your gains.
What is it that you've seen from Mike that makes you believe with just 3 practices he'll be able to kind of make that switch you talked about earlier?
Well, Mike is a good, like I said, Mike's a good football player, and Mike has a lot of experience from the mental perspective. He's played the most. He's a guy that can just kind of, he operates. It's not a big deal to him. He's pretty calm and steady. So for him to go in really any position, to be honest, he's been, you don't miss a beat.
On Layden Robinson, what has led to him getting these opportunities? You said as a rookie it's hard to transition. What has led to him getting this opportunity to start and getting so much playing time over maybe some of these other experienced guys you have in the room?
Well, Layden's a strong, powerful kid. He's a good player. But being a rookie, again, you're coming into the NFL with a lot of adjustments on a weekly basis, and he's done a good job for the most part with that. But we like his physicality, and he's a hard worker, and he's got a good future.
What have you seen so far? I know he's only got here, a couple days ago with Tyrese Robinson.
Tyrese, we like him so far. He's a strong kid, real strong. Just getting him in the system and getting him, reps, obviously, teaching him is the key. So for him to elevate it, it's just going to be a learning process.
I know he hasn't been back in practice yet, but with Cole Strange, is there a vision for what position he's going to be playing when he does come back?
We've honestly been working with the guys we have, and we're looking forward to getting Cole back. But Cole's a good player, so when that time comes, we'll address it.
You talked about contingencies. We joked with Mike this summer about playing center, and he kind of said, "Yeah, well, whatever you need."
If anybody could do it, it'd be Mike. Yeah.
When it comes to City, so I know he was a starter last year, looked like a starter throughout the summer, gets hurt, and it seems like he's had a hard time getting back in the lineup. Just curious, what exactly was behind that? Does it seem like it's kind of an injury thing? Is it just technique or?
It's kind of a combination of things, but he's doing a good job coming back. For City, football, he's relatively young and new to the game, and so for him, he's doing an excellent job. He's a smart guy. He's a tough guy. He's got a lot of attributes that you really like. So, we're just continuing to work with him, and again in multiple spots.
Coach, when you watch your run game, just what are you seeing? Is it schematic? Is it fundamentals? What do you see as?
Well, there's a combination of things that haven't been up to par. And the first thing that we don't accept is mental errors. And so we've had a couple of those in key moments. And I think certain areas where it hasn't been as physical as we like it to be, but that's been an emphasis point for us, and so the guys know what they need to do and the expectations.
I have a question about stunts, maybe just in general. Say you have two offensive linemen, guard, tackle, blocking one guy, and then there's someone wraps around.
Right.
Is it the job of like the guard to sort of slide over? Is it the quarterback to recognize it? I guess what's your
It
rule?
depends.
When
It
comes
depends
to
on
that
the protection. You have protection rules. You follow those. So largely, the offensive line is the defensive lineman. And if I was to give you a general rule, but a lot of it's pending the protection rules where and who has who. But yeah, the stunts are definitely probably the hardest thing that a lineman has to block, in protection. But as far as who has who, definitely a concept that kind of falls back on schematics.
Is that all post-snap reaction for linemen, or is there a way to kind of tell that the
Um,
line might be stunting?
Well, like situationally that in certain fronts dictate, you'll see more stunts than others, but and you see tendencies in certain depth and demeanor by the defenders, but really you don't go out there predicting what kind of stunt they're going to run. You just have to take a great set.
We've seen you utilize the, as you call it, the jumbo tight end role a lot more this season. Has that been an effort to get the run game going? Like, what's kind of the motivation behind using that so often?
Yeah, you want to get guys out there on the field, get bigger players out there in the field, and you use those guys in different capacities. But one of those is the run for sure.
What are your thoughts about Ben Brown and your center situation overall?
Yeah, Ben, I mean, to have someone come in and be able to operate the offense with such a limited exposure has been pretty impressive. We're just, now it's like, okay, you're here now. Let's continue to develop. So he's done a nice job taking ownership and leadership and really running the show for a guy that just got here. So we're happy with that, but we're trying to, take the next step with him.
Yeah, there's a run play early where he had City eligible. He's playing fullback, and I just noticed that Ramondre went the other way, like he didn't follow him. Like, what are some of the advantages to, City leading but not necessarily following right behind?
Well, sometimes when you bring a fullback, you pull a linebacker away, or you get a different, you get a better look certain ways, and sometimes you lead, and sometimes you follows, and sometimes it's designed to go the other way. Yep.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We got to talk to Alex yesterday, and he was talking about a few of the things that he'd like to see Drake improve on. One of them was play action ball handling. How much do you guys work on that? Is that how much can one little detail like that really impact a play, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. We work on it. We've been working on it since the spring. It's just not some, under center, back to the defense, your ability to fool the defense. Some of these play action concepts, it's really important that you're getting the backers to step up. And so every little detail matters, from the O-line to our ball fake to the running backs' involvement in that too. So it's a big part of what we do.
How do you are there examples that you'll show? Like the one that pops into my head, like Peyton Manning always got a lot of credit for being like a really good ball faker. Like, will you show him videos of guys that go back that far? Or is it just video of him?
Absolutely. I mean, we have AVP on tape at Pitt, doing some of these fakes. So AVP loves showing that one.
How is he? I mean, he must be pretty good if you're showing him in the room.
Yes, AVP's fake's pretty good. You got to ask him about it. You got to tell him to pull the tape and bring it in.
Lefty, right? Was he a lefty or no?
Yeah, I think he's a righty.
Okay, maybe it's a lefty. I feel like I've heard about a lefty. Like, was it the guitar? There's some guitar.
The guitar fake,
level fake. Okay,
that's part of it. For
okay.
sure.
Okay.
Have you seen any evidence yet of teams spying Drake? And if not, do you anticipate that as something that might happen going forward, given how well he's runs or scrambles?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, there are some third down situations where you can have whole players that can also help with the quarterback run game. But as far as we go, that it doesn't really affect how Drake goes through his progressions and plays the game. But I think for sure, if he continues to pick up yards on the ground, they're gonna have to have an answer somewhere.
When it comes to some of his decision making in real time, like reading a certain defender, okay, he goes there, I'm throwing to the short guy, or I'm throwing to the deep guy. How has he been in that regard? How much has he improved in the time since he's been starting these games? Yeah. And is that a strength of his, do you feel?
I do feel like that's a strength. He's a super fast processor. He sees the field really, really well. Even if you watch, his first interception from last week, he saw the defender take another route. Now, he ended up kind of being out of rhythm with his footwork and moving and then trying to throw it. But he saw the defender. He just came off of it late. So he sees the field well. He processes very quickly. It's definitely a strength of his.
Is it ever, from the quarterback standpoint, is it ever difficult knowing that this is a new offense for a lot of these guys? You get some rookies that have been in the NFL period. If there's ever sort of, a detail or some spacing that's not ideal, does it make it harder for him in those situations to be able to read things out, by the book?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with any offense, spacing's a big deal, timing's a big deal. And so that's why it takes all 11. It takes all 11 to be in the right spot at the right time, and then for Drake to read it out correctly on time with his feet. And so if any one of those parts, whether it's Drake or somebody else, is messed up, it definitely makes it harder on everyone.
Would you say Drake has a good demeanor for a quarterback? I mean, nothing seems to kind of rattle him. He just seems kind of calm. Have you noticed that as well?
For sure. I think you can notice that on tape at Carolina from, we watched all his post-game press conferences as well. He's very positive, even keel. I think you saw it on tape in college. I think he definitely fulfilled that when he got here. You could see it early in the preseason. So definitely.
TC, have you guys had discussions it's kind of a two-part question, but about trying to find ways to scheme Drake's mobility into the offense, versus him just scrambling? And, can you do ways that maybe he doesn't actually take those extra body blows, but kind of just affects the defense that he has that option to run?
I don't want to give away too much of, our plans, but I think definitely using his legs, whether it's running or whether it's just moving the pocket, he can do both of those things at a pretty high level. And so I think you want to use all your tools at your disposal. It definitely makes things harder on the defense when you're moving the pocket, when there's a threat of a run. And so, yes, all of that would be part of what we do.
Do you feel like you have to put some of that stuff on tape first to get defenses to respect it? I'm thinking the game last night, watching, and Lamar's mobility just obviously affects everything for the defense, but we've seen him take off running for years. Do you feel like Drake needs to build that up to be able to be that kind of threat to a defense, or do you think that that's already starting to happen a little bit?
I think that starts to happen even just on the natural scrambles that we've seen so far. I think people know he can run, and the threat of that is always there. So I don't think you have to run a bunch of quarterback runs to get that done.
You mentioned on that first pick the other day, his footwork was a little off. Does that happen less often than you would think based on his experience and based on all the work that you guys had to do footwork-wise with him when he first got here? Is it about where you thought he would be? I'm just curious how frequently it happens and if the frequency surprises you one way or the other.
I think his feet are very good. I think in any game, whether it's him or was it Jacoby or any quarterback, it's never perfect like we practice it all the time. There's just a lot of things going on in the NFL game. So it's never, I don't want to say never, but it's rarely just picture perfect all the time. And so it's hard to say the exact frequency, but I would say he's on time a lot and his feet are on time and in rhythm with his eyes, which is what we're looking for. And, it's getting better and better, but he's pretty good at it.
One of the things that I remember Alex told us, it was right after the first Jets game, and he obviously played at the end of that game. Drake played at the end. And he said something along the lines of, his footwork wasn't perfect, and we expect that. You're going to revert when, the bullets are live. But it sounds like he hasn't reverted back too much in the time that he's been
No, he's been pretty consistent. Now, there's always some plays and here and there, but for sure from that game, when you get thrown in at the end, too, there's a lot going on there. Since he's, took over as a starter, his feet have been much more consistent.
Yeah, it's probably hard to get into a rhythm. One drive at the end of the game.
One drive, 2 minute.
Yeah.
The defense was getting after us pretty good, so right. It was a little harder to sit in there in rhythm in that situation. So definitely the footwork wasn't great, but again, since he's taken over as a starter, his footwork's been pretty consistent.
Can that build over multiple weeks? Can he carry it from one game to the next, I guess, just based on the experience that he has, or is that something you have to rediscover on a weekly basis?
I think there's always a part of a game that each game is different. Now, your overall rhythm, I think that builds over time, but each game is going to be different. Sometimes it's hard to get open on time because of the defense they're playing. Sometimes those things flow naturally early. So I think each game is an animal of its own, but I think over time, your just natural rhythm, how you play the game, definitely can build up.
The game you guys are about to play, how do the Bears do? I remember last week, the Titans seemed like one of these teams that, would be able to disguise relatively well and do some different things with their safeties. Are the Bears a little different in that regard, or are things a little more static, and you sort of know what to expect and they're just really good at it? Because obviously the numbers for Chicago this year have been good, points allowed.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a different style of defense where the Titans were definitely disguised, show you different looks, different pressures. Where Chicago, you know what they're going to do a lot. Now, every defense has elements of disguise, so I don't want to say they don't.
Sure.
But what they're really good at is doing what they do well and running to the football. And so they close the zones fast. You have to be on time. We have to be in the right spaces. So it's a different style of defense for sure.
Does that mean one thing that I've kind of found interesting when it comes to quarterback play? We do. Brian Hoyer does some work with us, and
Yep.
he was talking about it can be a physically exhausting position to play, especially if you're running for 95 yards or whatever it was. But mentally, he said, it can wear you down, all the decisions you have to make.
Yep.
So is there maybe going to be, depending on the defense, if it's a defense where, not that they'll never disguise, but if there's a little bit less of that, can that make his job a little bit easier in terms of the number of things he has to do either before or after the snap?
I don't know that it's the style of defense that does that. I think, our calls within that style of defense can help because the decisions you have to make are still instant. Mm-hmm. And it happens faster maybe when a defense like this. You may know where it's got to go, but it's got to go there exactly on time. And so I think you got to build, breaks in for the quarterback where he doesn't have to make all these decisions every single play because it does become exhausting when you have to make the perfect decision on every single play.
How has he handled that workload, that mental workload, snap to snap? Because, we've seen it. Like, it's been hard for the offense to run the ball. And so, like, I would think there's a little bit of a mental break built in there if you can run it consistently and just take a little bit of a breather. When you can't do that, how has he handled that stress, for lack of a better word?
I mean, part of his strength is his mental bandwidth. He can handle a lot. And so I don't think it's stressed him at all as far as what we've been doing. He's pretty sharp.
And it sounds like he's been ahead of schedule, progressing really well. And you guys have that VR technology. Do you have any idea how much that's impacted his ability to kind of learn at a faster rate and be ready for the opportunities he's got?
I think that's definitely helped throughout camp and the early part of the season. I think when you're in practice getting all those reps, the VR becomes less used for him. It's more for the guys who aren't getting as many reps. But I definitely think that helped him bank reps when he wasn't getting as many in practice.
I know
You guys want to take two more?
I know you guys want to protect Drake, but a lot of his bigger plays have come on the move and scrambles. Are you okay with the amount of times he's scrambling? Would you like him to reduce it or anything?
I'd say each play is its own deal. So if we get people open in time and in rhythm, I expect the ball to be out and completed. If we don't, then you got to play football, and that's what he does well. So I wouldn't say that there's a number of times. I'd say we want to get people open as many times as we can in rhythm, but that doesn't always happen in the NFL. So his ability to make things happen when we don't get people open is critical.
And when it comes to protecting himself, it seems like there are times where sometimes he may drift towards the target he's throwing to, and sometimes it feels like he's at one spot and ends up at another in the pocket. Is that something you guys have noticed? Is that something maybe that I'm seeing wrong, and is that something that you're trying to address?
I think overall, I think that happens sometimes. I think there are a lot of times where he's moving in the right direction and giving himself a chance to make the throw. The messier the pocket, the harder that is to do. So sometimes it will look like he's drifting in, and because he's locked in down the field, which is where you want his eyes. And so he has a good feel in the pocket, and sometimes he will move himself into pressure, but that's just kind of part of the deal.
All right, guys.
Thanks, TC.
Room happy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a fine line, when you have 7 guys in the room and you have that issue that you're talking about. I think what we just try to do is treat each week like its own individual week. Have a process to our preparation. What are our goals this week? Individually, collectively as a group, offensively, whatever it is. Work towards those things and just keep everybody focused on improvement and their process. And I think that once we always have that focus, we're in a good shape. If we focus on all the results and everything else beyond that, I think that's what makes it difficult for anybody, really. So we are strong believers in focusing on our process, and that'll lead us to whatever results that we're hoping to get.
Do you believe that, there's more to come or a lot better things we're going to see with Jalen Polk? And are you expecting those things to come this year or perhaps down the road beyond that?
Well, he'll have a good long career, I would suspect, and he's a hard worker. He's a good person, and he's talented. And I think when you combine all that, good things will come together for him. We're just at a point in the season where, again, he was hurt and he was down for a little bit of time, and he's back in it, and we expect him to show some good things as we go forward.
Gerard's been open about a quote mental hump even before the concussion with Jalen, and has since said, hey, he's over it. So I'm just curious, this guy you work with day to day, what was that like specifically? What does that look like, and how did he then get through it?
I don't know about that. I would just say right now where we're focused at is kind of where we're at today, and I think he's back, he's healthy, he's ready to go, and we're looking forward to seeing him play this week.
Do you see a different player, maybe this week from a month ago then?
I think he's been really consistent in his approach. I think he's always, been very steady about that. I've always appreciated that with him is the way that he approaches practice and his preparation, in the building before we hit the practice field. And I think that just continues to get better and better. But again, I feel like his approach and his consistency that way has always been a strong suit of his.
So he shared his on-field persona. I think it's Monster P or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's got something. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, you got it. Nice.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah.
What do you see? What makes them different?
They're a tough defense. They're one of those defenses. They don't do a lot, but what they do, they're good at. They understand their weaknesses. They do a good job attacking the ball. It's a tough defense, man. A lot of respect for their nickel number 6. He's a player.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a tough defense right now. They're playing hard. They finish. They understand the scheme. So it's going to be a challenge for us. I think we're up for it.
You have any personal connections, guys on the roster or on the staff over there?
No, I don't. I know the special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
But that's the only connection
How's that?
I have. Well, I guess Mercedes Lewis would be the one. So my dad coached Mercedes at UCLA. What's funny, him and Maurice Drew used to babysit us on the bowl games.
No kidding.
And he's still playing. So I think he got the record this year. So I've known Mercedes for a long time.
So he babysat you?
He used to babysit us at the bowl games. Me and my little brother. My dad would drop us off with them, and we play games with them. He's still going.
Yeah.
Still going.
What kind of games would you play, and what was that like?
I used to beat both of them in the Papa Shot. You know, the arcade Papa Shot. Yeah.
Was that like a Dave & Buster's or a local
Yeah,
place?
they had a Dave & Buster's. We were out in Vegas. They had a little Dave & Buster's we went to.
That's hilarious. Do you keep in touch with him at all? You see him?
Yeah, I see him. Yeah, we talk every now and then. When I was at UCLA, we talked a lot, with recruiting and whatnot. But he's someone that, I've followed his whole career.
Yeah, Gerard had good things to say about him, and I was thinking the other day, I was like, he got drafted before Gerard.
Yeah,
like he's
been. That's what I mean. He literally, they used to watch us. That's how young I was, and he's still going.
You ever try to recruit him to wherever you're coaching?
No, I haven't. I'm sure my dad does though, because my dad's coaching tight ends in Miami now. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
no kidding.
I'm sure he's trying to get him.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the difference looking at Sunday? I mean, win or loss, everyone says turnovers, and time of possession, things like that. But specific to how you guys match up with them.
Yeah, I think, the turnovers is huge because when you go against a defense that attacks the ball like they do, that's something you got to worry about. So turnovers will be huge. For us, though, it's just we got to get the run game going. And I think if we can get the run game going and Drake keeps making plays in the pass game, that's the next step for us. And obviously we had the run game going early on. We just got to get back to it, understand it's a long season. We hit a little hiccup, but we just got to grind through it.
Yeah, I know guys this week were saying it's like a mindset thing. Like You just got to get back to, hey, we're going to punch you in the mouth first. Those double teams up front, hold them. Did you see that this week, and how, if so?
Yeah, it was definitely emphasized this week. Physicality, strain, effort was emphasized this week. Did some drills, half-line drills, just focusing on that. But again, it's like you said, it's a mindset. So we just got to get together, say we're going to go out there, punch them in the mouth, and then let Dre go because, Dre's ready to roll right now. So if we can just get a few clean looks for him, see what he can do.
Yeah. What was different about those half-line drills? Like, why are you like, oh, yeah, we emphasize
To me, it's good because the backs get to focus on one side rather than the whole picture, and you really just emphasize one-on-one blocks. front side. So for the backs, it limits their view. Their vision's half the vision. So now they got to create holes and angles when there's nothing there.
Okay.
You know, with that drill, and then just the mindset of, hey guys, we're focusing on the run. We're doing run drills. Is one of those drills I think everyone likes, and it's just good. You just got to keep practicing, keep chipping away.
Is that a
at
Texas
stuff.
drill?
No, it's not a Texas drill. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like similar, like, I guess that's a one-on-one block and then runner and read.
Yeah. It's it's literally half line.
Yeah.
You could run, you could pass out of it too.
Okay.
But you're literally just taking the run and focusing on the front side.
Yeah.
You know, rather than having the backside elements.
Right. Any get close to a scrap this week? You know, I know sometimes it's a good thing as a coach. You know?
No, not that I saw.
Okay.
But I know what you're getting at. It is. But no, we didn't. But again, it's just the mindset of like, guys, this is what we're doing. This is what we're saying we're going to do. We're practicing it this way. Now Sunday, we got to go do it.
Yeah. Just going back to Mercedes for a second. Anything else about those days during the bowl week that you remember or think?
Well,
about?
I just remember Mercedes. He was a basketball player. He went to UCLA, and my dad got there, I think his sophomore year, and basically told him, hey, man, you're only playing 3-4 minutes on the basketball court. You got a bright future as an NFL player if you take it serious. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for him because he was a receiving tight end.
Yeah.
You know, he won the Mackey at UCLA, and he was a true F. Mm-hmm. Well, he's a true Y now, and he puts his hand in the dirt and he blocks. So you talk to guys, you want to help these kids have a career as long as they can in this league, and you got to your game has to transform, and he is the perfect example of transforming your game from an F tight end to a true. He's an extra tackle out there sometimes.
Yeah.
So
during the week, I mean, was he just not playing in that particular bowl game? Like, why did he have free time to hang out?
Oh, they did. Well, you know, bowl games, you get a bunch of free
lead-up.
time. So
Yeah.
we'd go to all the team events and stuff. So, like, if we had team dinner where we went to Dave & Buster's. That's where we did all the arcades.
Yeah.
They had the PlayStation set up.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to whoop Maurice Drew and Madden. Yeah, you can tell them that.
Yeah. What bowl was it and what year?
I can't remember the year. It was the Las Vegas Bowl, though.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was the Vegas Bowl.
It's easy enough to look up.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of bowl games as a coach's son, so
a lot of free stuff.
Yeah, a lot
That's
of free
right.
stuff.
Cool, man. Appreciate
All right,
you.
appreciate it, man.
Definitely.
Appreciate
and
it.
Your dad's still in Miami? You said?
Yeah, he's tight end coach down in Miami.
Cool.
So yeah, that's a real. Honestly, I got so much respect for Mercedes.
Yeah, the Y thing is true. The last 10 years, it's just he's a 6 offensive lineman out there.
Yeah, and you know everyone wants to make basketball players tight ends,
right?
But that's a hard position to play.
I've never really crossed paths. Coach Embree's dad coached him, I think, at UCLA, and then coached him again. And so I've heard so much about him and watched him. He's just, you know, he's one of those guys. I think early on in his career, he was catching all the balls, and that was what it was. But then people say, "Wow, geez, he can really block people." And then what is he? I mean, he's like my age, right? I mean, he's
older than me. Yeah,
yeah,
so
he's an
like
older
30,
guy,
39.
but it's amazing what he's able to do, and you know, he's a great player. It's hard to find a guy at this position that can block a defensive end and run out and beat safeties and beat linebackers and pass. You know, and when you can get that and you can do it over time, you know, obviously you can play a long time in the league.
Are there any tight ends when you're, you know, showing tape to? I mean, obviously you got Hunter and Austin, but as examples around the league, like, hey, the way this guy, you know, has this release or holds this block during film as an example for Jaheim or even your whole room?
You know, I do it a little bit with Jaheim. I don't, to be honest with you, I would tell him to emulate Austin and Hunter Henry and look at everything that they do from the way they prepare to, you know, just the way they practice to how they are in the techniques that they use and that we talk about. And then, you know, in the off season, you'll cut up certain guys that are exact body types, like yeah, exactly what he is, and find, first of all, for myself, to find the things he really does well, and try and find different things that we can do that highlight that. But then I think also just that, you know, you get him to see different things that people do and kind of the way they do it. So he's just all about developing right now. He's a really good talent. He is a great kid. He loves football. I mean, early in the year I said, listen, for you to get up right now, you got to go get on special teams. And he wasn't on special teams. And I think he went in with Springer every single day and did extra work, and now he's able to do some things. He did a great job last week.